Imagine getting paid just for sharing your thoughts on products and services you use every day. With Survey Junkie, it's that simple. Click on the link in the video description to discover how you can start earning today by taking surveys.
Antidepressants save lives. There's no doubt about that. They are an effective treatment for moderate and severe depression and can be of incredible benefit for people suffering other crippling mental health conditions, such as anxiety and OCD. As with all medications, however, they can have side effects and don't work for all. But the biggest worry, for me, is that many people are started on them when they don't really need them. They may have mild depression, or social issues such as relationship difficulties or problems at work that no pill could hope to fix. Yet doctors dish them out thinking that there's no harm in trying them anyway. And that's a problem. Antidepressants aren't without downsides, and I'm not just talking about side effects, such as drowsiness. More problematic is the difficulty some people have in stopping taking them. This isn't because they are addictive. The body doesn't crave them in the way it does an addictive substance. Rather, when they are stopped abruptly, the body takes time to adjust back, and during this process, really nasty symptoms can arise. This is called discontinuation syndrome and can include dizziness, headache, nausea, insomnia, electric shock type sensations and irritability. A recent study looked at how common this was and found 1 in 6 people who stop antidepressants will experience some of these symptoms. What makes me sad is that, with careful planning and proper care, I suspect the number would be much lower. Too often doctors fail to appreciate how slowly patients need to be weaned off these pills. I've seen many patients who have complained of withdrawals after being on high doses and then having them suddenly stopped. When I've put the patient back up to the original dose and then slowly weaned them off, they've been fine. Choosing to start an antidepressant has to involve a very careful weighing of the pros and cons, and it's only right that patients know about the risks. GPs too often engage in a tick box exercise that ends in a hasty prescription. Some people find it so hard to get off the drug later on, they give up and resign themselves to a lifetime of antidepressants, leading to feelings of failure. Doctors have known about these problems for years, yet, until recently, the medical establishment, including official bodies such as the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, NICE, denied they existed or downplayed them. This created a sense that patients were just making a fuss about nothing, and studies over the years suggested they were having their medication stopped too abruptly as a result. While patients coming off these pills usually have their dose halved, and then stopped, a Dutch study showed great success in weaning people off medication by using tiny reductions in dose over weeks and months. Yet it was met with silence from the medical bodies and NHS. It was only an epic campaign by this paper, which lasted several years, that made those in power finally sit up and listen. The government, NHS, public health bodies and the Royal College of Psychiatrists all eventually acknowledged that coming off antidepressants too quickly was a problem and something needed to be done. New guidelines were issued by NICE last year, and every doctor is now alerted to the fact that it can be difficult to wean patients off these drugs, and care must be taken before prescribing them. Yet still many doctors don't really appreciate the symptoms patients can experience when they stop taking the pills. We need to acknowledge that, for some people, ending a reliance on the drugs is an unremarkable process, but, for others, it can be almost impossible due to the awful side effects. So, what do you do if you want to stop taking antidepressants and are worried? It's important to acknowledge that when some people stop taking the medication, their symptoms of anxiety or depression do return. They can become jittery, withdrawn, or even suicidal. This isn't a discontinuation symptom, but evidence that the antidepressant was treating an underlying illness that has re-emerged. But for those who do experience discontinuation symptoms, be reassured that you are perfectly justified in asking the doctor for a slower reduction in dosage. I've had a small number of patients who have used liquid forms of an antidepressant, so they can reduce it by just a tiny amount each week. But this is rarely nice.